So guys, it is that time of the week again, and we're back for another one of our footballing reactions. Very excited to jump into today's video where we're going to be reacting to Adriano. Now, I don't know all too much about him really. I know that people spoke very highly about him back in, I think, the mid-2000s, around the era where PES was really big. I hear a lot of people talk about Adriano and how good he was back on that game and things like that. But other than that, I know very little about his career, so this should be quite the interesting reaction to go ahead and dive into. We've done quite a few Brazilians on the channel so far, so more than excited to jump into another one today. As always, if you do go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and get all your other suggestions in the comments down below for any other classic footballers of years gone by, anyone sort of pre-2008 that you'd like to see me reacting to. But without any further ado, let's jump into this one. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this reaction.
I played with great champions. I played with players that already was
always starts off well when you're starting off with a Zlatan quote.
With players that I saw was a talent became wow. But the one I felt that could do it longer was, and he didn't do it, was Adriano. Because the way he was an animal. He could shoot from every angle. Nobody could tackle him. Nobody could take the ball. He was a pure animal. But it lasted for a short time.
More than anyone else, Adriano had the potential to become the most dominant striker we have ever seen. There was a time when his home country of Brazil thought he would succeed,
he could hit them,
even
couldn't he?
Ronaldo. After all, they had very similar playstyles, with the main difference being that Adriano was simply more physically gifted. So how did he go from having the sky as the limit to reaching rock bottom? What's going on, guys?
Yeah, the video that we're reacting to today is literally called The Fall of Adriano, how it happened, so
we're going to be taking a look at
the
the
really
fall
interesting
of Adriano, how it happened. But before we start, I just want to thank you guys for all the love and support.
I have enjoyed the reactions that we've done to all the Brazilian players that we've watched on the channel so far, but this one particularly I'm looking forward to.
With this one. So I hope you enjoy, and with that being said, let's get on to it. In order to fully understand Adriano's situation, we first have to put ourselves in his shoes and bring it all the way back to his childhood.
I can hit them from outside the box,
Adriano grew up in the favelas of Rio in Brazil, a poverty-ridden and gang-filled slum where a lot of shady stuff was going on. He would play football basically whenever he got the chance. Even if he was playing barefoot in alleyways or dirt pitches, it didn't matter to him as long as he got to play the game that he loved so much. He always dreamt of succeeding and making it professionally so that he could escape the favelas and support his family.
Yeah, that's been a common theme with, I think, most of the older Brazilians that we've reacted to on the channel so far.
In an area filled with gang violence and crime, his father stayed clean and worked hard to support Adriano's dreams of playing football in whatever way he could, even if the money was really tight. After his father had saved up enough, he would put his son into a youth club where he would literally stand out amongst all the other kids, both in skill and in stature. After impressing pretty much everyone there was, Adriano would begin to get invited to play for better teams in bigger youth leagues until in 1999, at the age of 17, he would be given the opportunity to sign with Flamengo and begin his professional career.
So that's where it all started.
Adriano began dominating the Brazilian league, with fans saying he reminded them of a young Ronaldo because of his incredible speed, strength, surprisingly soft touch, and absolute cannon of a left foot shot.
Yeah, it looks incredible.
If any of you have ever played Pro Evolution Soccer 6, then you'll remember just how broken his long-range shots were.
Yeah, that's the one thing literally that I've heard about Adriano. People talking about PES 6, I mentioned it in the intro, was way too young to actually play that myself, but yeah, I've heard a lot about that sort of stuff. That's very interesting.
It wasn't long before big European clubs started to set their eyes on him. In 2001, it was Inter Milan that finally seized the opportunity to grab Adriano.
Oh my god,
which
he can
meant
hit him,
that
can't
he
he?
had the opportunity to play with and learn from the very man he was compared to, Ronaldo. Ronaldo would be like a hero and role model who helped mentor the young Adriano when he first arrived in Italy.
Wow, what a team that would have been.
Ronaldo gave me hints on how to play smart on the pitch and how to win the crowd. His playful spirit was super important to make me feel at home. In his very first season, the 19-year-old Adriano would only score a single goal in 8 appearances. But to be fair, he barely got any playing time because of how stacked the squad was.
Yeah,
so
I imagine
Inter
at that
decided to
time.
loan him out for a couple of years so he could get more experience. Adriano would head out to Fiorentina, another Italian club where he managed an impressive tally of 6 goals in 15 games. Given the fact that he was
Respectable,
only
decent.
19 and still relatively new to the Serie A, which back in the 2000s was arguably one of the toughest and most competitive football leagues in the world, it was an achievement to score that many goals in not so many games as a young player.
Yeah,
Adriano's
it's
first
so
year
interesting watching these goals as well, because I had no idea sort of what type of striker he was, you know, whether he was sort of a penalty box striker, a bit of a dribbler or something like that, but I'm really taken back by just how many come from like outside the box and that absolute cannon of a left foot.
performance on loan would land interest from another Italian team, Parma. In fact, Parma was so interested in Adriano that they would give footballing legend Fabio Cannavaro to Inter in exchange for the young striker.
Oh, wow.
Which just shows you how much potential
Yeah.
everyone saw in Adriano. During his loan to Parma, Adriano would break out as he finally got a lot more playing time and experience. He would go on to score a total of 23 goals in 37 appearances.
Okay, so
with
that's his
him
first, like,
nearly
big
scoring
season.
in every appearance during his second season with 9 goals in 13 games.
Nice.
Inter fans were very excited to finally have Adriano back, especially after his excellent form at Parma. After Ronaldo had moved to Real Madrid in 2002, it would finally be Adriano's chance to take the spotlight at Inter, and he did not disappoint. The 21-year-old would end the season scoring 12 goals in 18 appearances, already becoming a superstar in Italy.
Yeah,
Fans
great
began
ratio.
calling Adriano the Emperor because of how he would just completely dominate the other team, much
love
like
that.
how an actual emperor would dominate his subjects. Inter realized there was no way they could lose Adriano, so they would re-sign him for a then whopping €24 million deal, which
Wow.
for a 21-year-old was
Yeah.
a ton of money. Adriano was on his way to absolute superstardom, even being called the new Ronaldo in Brazil. The following season, Adriano would show everyone exactly why he was worth so much money. He would go on to score 28 goals in 42 appearances across all competitions,
Wow.
which is a goal approximately every 0.7 games, helping Inter earn a spot in the Champions League for the first time since Ronaldo was in the club. The future was looking good for Adriano and Inter.
Yeah, I
but
have to say I'm a
halfway
bit gutted that I didn't grow up in this era when it was like, you know, the Brazilians dominated, when you had like your R9 Ronaldos, obviously Adriano, Ronaldinho, you know, Rivaldo, who we've looked into as well. Yeah, it just seemed like such a cool time.
through the 2004-2005 season, something tragic would happen to Adriano that would change his life forever. Adriano receives terrible news from home that his beloved father had passed away in his sleep, only at the age of 44. And seeing as how close Adriano was to his father, you could understand that the news was probably devastating for
Yeah.
him. Inter legend Javier Zanetti remembers everything that went down that day. He got a phone call from Brazil. Dad is dead. I saw him in his room, he threw the phone and started screaming. You couldn't imagine that kind of scream. I get goosebumps even to this day. From this point on, depression would begin to grab a hold of Adriano. But if
Wow.
you were to make your judgment based only on his performances on the field, you would have never really noticed any difference. However, this was only for a little while. His father's death drove him to become unstoppable. He played like he was angry at the other team, with a new level of aggressiveness in his game, scoring goal after goal and playing like he was possessed. But like I said, it was only for a short time.
Yeah, I imagine he was
Zanetti
unstoppable
said it
during that
best.
time.
He kept playing, scoring, and dedicating the goals to his father. But after that call, he was never the same again. After the 2005 season, almost a year after his father passed, Adriano seemed like he just lost all the motivation to continue playing.
Damn,
He
that's
had
so
almost
sad.
completely lost the battle against depression and was also struggling with addiction. I only felt happy drinking. I drank everything in front of me. Wine, whiskey, vodka, beer. I didn't know how to hide it. I used to go to training drunk in the morning. He had become such a terrible alcoholic that it wasn't long before his lifestyle off the pitch began to affect things on it. He began missing training, partying all night, and his attitude and work ethic just simply faded away to nothing. He would also begin to gain a lot of weight, which would clearly affect his conditioning and make him even less fit to play than he already is. In 2009, Inter would send Adriano on unpaid leave to try to rehab in Brazil even after all those years of addiction.
Yeah, I think because when I was first getting into football around 2009, that was my first sort of probably like impression of Adriano. Like I've seen him like in passing in a YouTube clip or something like that, probably from around this time, and I had no idea the sort of player that he was before that, how sort of fast and speedy he was. But I mean, yeah, this is such a like what if scenario, isn't it? Yeah, inconveniences in your life can have such a ripple
Jose
effect.
Mourinho saying, "It's a serious situation for us. It's no joke. It's not about the lack of discipline, but I don't want to complicate things. I'm sad, not angry, but I don't want to say anything. We will see how it all ends. I'm concerned for the person rather than the player."
Yeah,
in the end, Inter would let go of the once promising superstar they had. Despite even the depression, addiction, weight gain, and off-pitch troubles, Adriano still managed to play well even after his father's death in 2004. And this is probably the saddest thing because his insane natural talent was still there. He was still scoring and performing decently despite how terrible his lifestyle was, which you can't really say about many other players. And if he had just chosen to continue working hard and taking care of himself, he could have very well still been the great emperor that we once knew.
Yeah, he'd be right up there for one of the greatest, wouldn't he, if he carried on at that trajectory
throughout their careers, which led them to being a shell of their former selves. But in the case of Adriano, who I can't stress enough, still managed to do decent despite his terrible condition, it was a mental battle, not a physical one that he couldn't overcome. Also, not too long ago, pictures have surfaced on Adriano's current lifestyle in Brazil, but it isn't exactly what it seems. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, Adriano was from the favelas, so many of his older friends are there and he regularly visits and shows some love to his humble beginnings, still being a crowd favorite in Brazil. So no, contrary to what other videos are saying about him, he isn't broke and living in the favelas. He still has money and lives perfectly fine if you do want to check him out on his Instagram. A lot of these pictures are just taken out of context, but Adriano is still a party animal type of guy, so I'm sure you can make your own conclusions based on that. So yeah, that's basically all I have for you guys today.
Wow, yeah, that's such an interesting story. Sort of like the opposite of R9 Ronaldo, where that was more like a physical breakdown towards the end, you know, the injuries catching up to him and things like that, and why that slowed him down from becoming one of the best. And then here with Adriano being that sort of mental battle, which is, yes, such an interesting perspective and such a sad ending to what could have been such a promising career. But guys, there we have it. That will wrap it up for today's video. Really quite a sad story, that one, with all the potential that he had as a player. I've just done a quick Google search of him, and he's only 39 years old right now, which shows the sort of young age he actually went ahead and properly, you know, retired from and ended up leaving Europe at. But a really interesting reaction nonetheless. Very much enjoyed diving into these players who I've got not much of an understanding about before going into these videos. But yeah, as always guys, if you did go on to enjoy this one, make sure to leave a like and get all your other suggestions for any other players that you'd like to see me reacting to in the comments down below. Apart from that though, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.